Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to another video. Pretzelman945, and today I will be doing an updated ranking of all the Marvel movies. I know I've already done a tier list of those on this channel, but I just thought it would personally be more fun to, just get down and dirty, rank them, go through each and every one. So, without further ado, let's get started. Now, if most of you know me and what I like and don't like, then this first one should not be very surprising. At number 26 is, oh, by the way, disclaimer, I know there are 27, but I don't count Edward Norton's Hulk movie because I haven't seen it, and because it's not Mark Ruffalo, I don't really count that. So, thusly, that will not be included as a part of this ranking. Now, in last place, of course, is Iron Man 2. 1 second. Okay, sorry about that delay. I had to take care of something, and then I also got a snack in the bathroom. Okay, excuse me 1 second. Okay, sorry about that again. Had to answer a text message. Alright, so as I was saying, last place should not surprise any of you is Iron Man 2. If you really want my in-depth opinions, then go watch my Final Reckoning video about it, but I will distill it down to the effect of his three main issues. Number one is very limited action. I feel like there could have been a lot more action in this movie. Two, and the primary issue, is the fact that the plot is completely jumbled up and it attempts several storylines that would have been great individually, but they just don't work cohesively. And then number three is the fact that the villains are not very good. Just say that. And number 25 is Thor: The Dark World. The simplest word to describe this movie is dull. I don't think it's a bad movie. In fact, I actually enjoy this movie somewhat, but it is just not very interesting. It doesn't have... It has... Malekith is a very boring villain, a very dull villain, and the plot is overall very dull, and where they go with the characters is very dull, and the whole thing is just dull. The most significant thing you can take out of this movie is the fact that it introduces the ether, which in it holds the reality stone. That is pretty much the only bit of information in regards to the overall MCU plotline that we need to understand from this movie. Otherwise, it is not worth watching at all, just because it is so dull. I mean, it has good acting and all that stuff, and actors really try their hardest, but just everything is so dull and forgettable that it's just not even worth watching. And number 24 is the first Captain America. Now, this might seem a bit controversial. I know most people who make these lists have it a bit higher up normally, but honestly, I never found myself liking this one for some reason. I always thought it was mediocre at best, and that was because I think Chris Evans is a fantastic actor, don't get me wrong, and I think he's suited to play Captain America perfectly, but the romance thing with Peggy Carter I didn't really like, and a lot of the general characters are extremely stereotypical, and I don't know, I find the story kind of normal and per se, and I really, really don't like the parts where he's campaigning wartime for a senator. I think all that stuff is really, really cringy. And then the first half of the movie where you see his character develop in spite of all the crappy general characters is really good, and I like that part. But then when the wartime sequences come, that's just not as interesting to me. And I feel like once he becomes Captain America physically in the movie, there's kind of a little bit of a loss in character development as the rest of the movie progresses. However, Hugo Weaving is the villain, and he does a pretty solid job. I know he said it was his favorite role, but I still honestly think he did a really good job with it. And obviously he's a fantastic actor in so many other movies, but yeah, he was a good choice for this. Overall, Iron Man 2 and Thor 2 are really the only bad movies on this list. Captain America 1 is honestly just here because it's really mediocre, and all the other stuff is also really, really good. Same thing I feel like goes for Thor. Like the first half of the movie is amazing. Like Kenneth Branagh directs it really, really well, and like Chris Hemsworth was born to play Thor. Sorry, guys. And then he's also and then it's just really well directed. Asgard looks absolutely beautiful. That whole part of it is great. The music's great, but when they get to Earth, it just kind of gets awkward, and it's kind of a waste of talent having Natalie Portman for Jane, considering all her talent as an actress. Excuse my eyes again. I'm looking at screens all day today. So for that reason alone, the romance is just kind of unfounded and it doesn't really go anywhere. Kat Dennings' character is I know some people absolutely hate her, but I think she's manageable and she's made better by her presence in WandaVision for me overall. But I don't know, she's kind of alright, but I don't know, kind of a little annoying as well. It just seems to be getting in the way of everything and whatnot. And then oh my god, what's his name? I'm completely no, his name is Eric something. I'm completely blanking on his name, but he's kind of a funny character, I guess, but also not really. I don't know. Yeah, I just this one is really for me mediocre. And number 22 is Captain Marvel. Honestly, for this, it was really good when I first saw it, and I really liked the plot and stuff like that, but the villain is quite lacking. I love certain things like Nick Fury's character and how they managed to youngify him. Yes, that's a word. Don't fight me on it. And then the Flerken is the best part. He is just absolutely the most godlike character in the whole movie. Fight me. But besides that, it has some plot inconsistencies and what they do with Carol Danvers' character, I feel is just kind of predictable, and Brie Larson is kind of just overall a meh actor for me. She plays Captain Marvel fine, well enough, and at this point they're not going to change the casting choice. Not after, yeah, they're just not going to do that by this point. But overall, just kind of, yeah. And number 21 is Ant-Man and the Wasp. Now, I like this movie a lot. I think it's just the kind of movie that Marvel needed to make after like the major showstopper that was Infinity War. They needed something a little bit more lighthearted to follow up with it. And it is very funny. However, I feel like the plot is not as good as the original, and I think the thing that really draws this movie back is the villains. Um whatever his name is, I do not consider Sonny Birch a villain. Okay, he is just like this businessman that is out for his own greedy needs. I do not consider him a villain, because if he were a villain, he'd be of such poor material that he'd be ashamed to be considered one. And then the ghost thing, I really think that like there was some promising stuff there, but it just ended up like really, really weak for me, which like her story is not convincing enough, which therefore doesn't really make her character as sympathetic, and it's just not a very good villain. That's really like what draws this movie back, because like all the same characters are still funny and they've got hilarious lines. Just that one thing really makes it sadly so mediocre. Now, here's a very controversial one. Thor Ragnarok. Now, when I first saw this, I really liked it. And, like, I absolutely love the first and final act of this movie. What I really, really don't like is the entire middle part. I really, really, like, I don't use this often about actors, but I really, really despise Jeff Goldblum. I don't think he's funny, and I think that he is extremely annoying when given a ton of screen time, which of course he is because he plays the Grandmaster. And I just think that whole plot, the whole like sequence is very awkward to watch. The fight scenes with Hulk are kind of cool, I guess, but like the Valkyrie thing is extremely predictable how that happens, and I don't even like her character much anyway. So, and don't get me wrong, and also I feel like Hela is a decent villain, but also suffers from like some story inconsistencies. Like her motives are clear, but she's just not as good as she probably could have been. But like the fight with Surtur and like the whole final act is like super super cool, and like the epic thing where Thor realizes his potential. I love all of that stuff, and Get Help is one of my favorite scenes from any Marvel movie ever because it's so funny. But just that entire middle part is just for me really hard to watch, and I've just never liked it. And for that reason, that's why I put Thor Ragnarok that high. And number 19 is Guardians 2. Now, I really like this movie. I think it is hilarious. It is nowhere as good as the first one, but I do think it's funny. And sure, Ego may not be the best villain, but I still think he's pretty cool. Excuse me. And I really like what they did with Yondu's character in this one and his sacrifice thing. And I also think this has so many hilarious lines like, "I'm Mary Poppins, y'all," and then and then the whole Taserface bit is just so funny. Like, they excel at the humor, of course, but also like it's just overall kind of like weaker compared to the first one. But it's definitely not a bad movie for me. At number 18 is Age of Ultron. Now, for me, I absolutely love Ultron. I think he's one of the best MCU villains. I know that's probably not an opinion many people share, but that's honestly just how I feel. Like I really really enjoy his presence on screen, and I also really really like the new characters introduced in this movie. Even though Quicksilver is kind of like a one done thing, I still think his character is cool. Scarlet Witch and Vision are both introduced, and they're like two of my favorite Avengers. So look how that turned out. They introduced some really great characters, obviously some funny lines, and the action is amazing. All the normal stuff. I think it's directed well by Joss Whedon. However, the story is a little bit weaker compared to the excellent thing that was like the masterpiece it was the original Avengers. But yeah, overall, I enjoy this movie quite a bit, and I just think it's just weaker story is really what holds it back from being higher on this list. And number 17 is The Eternals. Now, this is I've had a lot of time to stew my like thoughts over this movie, and my thoughts have varied quite a bit. When I first saw it, I thought it was like top tier level material, and then I've been thinking about it a little more, and I watched it again like a couple weeks back, and I honestly think like right around the middle of the list is like this middle section of the list is like right where it belongs, honestly, because I think there are a lot of incredible things about this movie. Like, for example, the historical references are on point, and I think the idea and the characters, like each one of them, are unique. I think that and the plot have some really cool elements to them. Um, However, I do feel like, and of course the action is incredible and it's like shot amazingly. But my main issue with this movie is I really feel like it tries way too many things at one time. Now, what do I mean by that? What I mean is, of course, there's the overarching plot of how Arishem is like using the D is like not D is like needs to make new celestials, and it's obviously like Earth is the next planet in that cycle and whatever, and yada yada all that stuff, and that's all cool and all, but like I feel like Arishem is just not a very good form of a villain for me. And if you watch this channel, you know that I care a ton about my villains. You gotta have my good villains. You gotta have them. However, I really don't think he makes a very good villain in the first place, and it's not very captivating. Like, you don't really feel like that like urgent desire that the Eternals have to stop beyond the whole Earth is getting destroyed and we must help it thing. And I do think it's an interesting thing to explore in this movie, which I think is done well to varying degrees with certain characters. Like in the case of what is her name? Ajak, that's it. Ajak, the head Eternal. Like, I think, like, with flashback scenes as context, I think that's, like, done really well with her. Versus, I really don't feel like that's done very well with a character like Icarus, who, like, kind of, like, is with them, but then kind of, like, betrays them, but is actually with them, which doesn't even make any sense. I do love his ending, though. Like, Historical Geek, love that. Very nice ending. But and then, like, they also try to attempt the whole romance thing between Cersei and Icarus, and that, for me, that really just does not work, and it doesn't make much sense. I also, like, there's also the idea that, like, there's the whole Prime Deviant thing, and he's, like, wants to become more human, and that's, like, an entire subplot in itself, which doesn't even really go anywhere, because it just ends up fighting on the same side of Erishen, because they're, like, the same creation, which is just a really bullcrap way of taking that, like, entire subplot about the Deviants, and the new Deviants attacking, and all that stuff. So it just attempts too many things at once. But I do feel like there are some really, really good things that they do with individual characters. I think that is one of the areas where they excel in this movie is individual characters. So, for example, one of my favorite characters across the whole movie, that what they did with was Sprite. Because I think that's such a unique thematic concept about, like, how she's eternal. She's an eternal. She can live forever. But the only thing she wants is to be human and to live like that. I think that idea is really, really unique. And for that reason, I love the way that they did that. And also Faustus, like, having him, like, imbued with technology, and also the fact he's a gay character, that entire thing is also really, really unique, and I like that a lot. And then Dina as well, I think. Angelina Jolie, like, yeah, whatever, like, she's in it, yeah. But, like, does some badass action sequences, and, like, I really like the conflicted nature of her character. Like, I was initially confused and really liked that, but, like, once I watched it again and really understood the conflict, I really have come down to appreciate that more. So, yeah, overall, I think that it just attempts way too many things at the same time, but, like, it's also good at the individual things, but just not very good at, like, trying to combine them to a cohesive plot. Kind of like Iron Man 2 type plot, but, like, not nearly as messy and not nearly as many plot lines. Looking at this, trying to figure out how many more I want to do here. I think I'm gonna do 2 more, and then this is gonna have to be split into a multi-part video. I thought I could do it all in one, but this recording is already at 23 minutes, and that was only number 17. So at number 16 is Black Widow, you know what? Actually, I know I said that, but as I'm saying that, I've, like, become kind of lazy and tired because it's almost 10 as I'm recording this, and I am quite tired. So I will be splitting this into a multi-part video. Expect that to come, like, next parts to be recorded soon, along with the other videos that I have said were upcoming. That's going to be all for tonight, guys. I will see you later. Bye.